Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily. I'm David Rothkopf, joined by Riley Fessler. How are you, Riley?
Just peachy.
Peachy. And Minna Stein. What kind of fruit are you like, Minna?
Banana.
Banana, exactly. All right, what's the lead story there?
President-elect Donald Trump nominated Dr. Oz, the celebrity physician and former TV talk show host, to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which oversees health coverage for 155 million Americans. Oz, a Harvard graduate and surgeon, has faced criticism for promoting unproven medical treatments and conspiracy theories, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. His nomination has sparked backlash from health experts and lawmakers who argue his lack of relevant experience and controversial views make him unfit to lead the critical agency. Critics also warn that Oz's support for Medicare privatization could harm vulnerable populations like seniors and low-income Americans.
Yeah, right. People use Medicare and Medicaid. It certainly could do that. It's kind of strange choice for any other administration, but apparently completely consistent with this one's rejection of science. Trump seems to have two special weaknesses. He likes people with kind of fancy degrees who are nonetheless uneducated or against knowledge. And strangely, you find large groups of people like that. I went to Harvard, but I don't believe in science. That kind of group. That's like Oz. And then he likes TV hosts. Oz had a show. This guy, Sean Duffy, who is the transportation secretary nominee, was actually on The Real World, which is, that's kind of right up there with Real Housewives. And of course, Hegseth had a show, and Trump had a show, and J.D. Vance had a podcast. And it's like he's hiring people who have played people who know something on TV, which is like a reality show, which is what it is. So he made other nominations yesterday, nominated Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald to be the Commerce Secretary, which was a disappointment to Lutnick because Lutnick wanted to be the Treasury Secretary. And he nominated Linda McMahon, who helped run the WWE, to be Education Secretary, which is not a great job if his goal is to eliminate the Department of Education. And while you might think it's strange that, he nominated somebody whose background was in the professional wrestling business, she actually served in senior capacity in the prior Trump administration, and she's nowhere near the bottom of the list of his bad nominees. She actually has some experience in this area. Is it good? Is it what you might want from policy perspective? No. Will she sail through confirmation like an America's Cup racer? I know Riley loves America's Cup sailing races.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly. Okay, Riley.
President Joe Biden has approved the provision of U.S. anti-personnel landmines to Ukraine, a measure aimed at slowing Russian advances in the eastern regions. Unlike traditional mines, these non-persistent devices deactivate after a set period, minimizing long-term risks. The decision comes as Ukraine continues its use of U.S.-supplied munitions, including recent ATACMS missile strikes into Russian territory, signaling heightened Western support. Moscow has condemned the move as escalatory and warned of potential nuclear responses to expanded conventional attacks.
Yeah, sure. They're going to respond with a nuclear attack. Look, what this proves is that Biden should have done it earlier, right? If he thought it was okay to do it now, why wasn't it okay to do it before? Why is it only okay to do it with 2 months before somebody coming in who's saying they're not going to support Ukraine? Biden accomplished a lot of great things during his presidency. His reluctance to fully support Ukraine at key points, his foot dragging in that regard, goes in the negative side of the ledger. It just wasn't the right way to handle this situation. And the way to assess it is, what if we had done this? Would Ukraine have won the war? Probably not. But would Ukraine be in a better position to negotiate right now with Russia? Definitely. And that's what this was about.
As Republicans prepare to take control of the Senate, Democrats are making a last-minute push to confirm President Biden's judicial nominees, hoping to fill vacancies before Republicans block further confirmations. Biden has successfully confirmed 216 judges so far, but 15 nominations remain pending and 45 vacancies are still open. Former President Trump, in a series of Truth Social posts, urged Republicans to block these confirmations, accusing Democrats of trying to rush through judicial appointments before his inauguration. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has made judicial confirmations a priority, pushing through multiple nominees and warning that the confirmation process will continue late into the night, despite Republican efforts to delay the votes, including procedural maneuvers and internal disputes about senator absences.
This is just what you'd expect. The Senate always goes through this. Either side accuses the other of trying to ram them through. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett was approved in an hour and 25 minutes, if you recall, just to get in there before a new administration came in. This is definitely one of the things the Senate should be doing. They should pull out all the stops. There are other stories like this, and I think over the next couple of months, one of the things you want to look at is, what is the Biden administration doing to tip the scales in the direction of their policies, at least going into the Trump administration? Talked about one in Ukraine. This is another. There's a story out there today that Gina Raimondo has said she wants to spend all the $50 billion that they were given under the CHIPS and Science Act before Trump gets in, so that they can support their priorities for this bill that they put through, rather than having Trump spend the money on something else. Watch, there'll be more of this. Riley?
Brazilian authorities have arrested several members of an elite army unit, including 4 military personnel and a federal police agent, accusing them of plotting to assassinate Lula da Silva in December 2022, shortly before his presidential inauguration, to keep the far-right incumbent Bolsonaro in power. The group, which allegedly planned to kill Lula, his vice president, and a Supreme Court justice, used advanced military expertise to organize the plot. This marks the first time Brazil's investigation into an attempted coup, and Bolsonaro's role has cited efforts to target Lula before his presidency. Bolsonaro has denied involvement, with his lawyer dismissing the allegations as baseless, while his son downplayed the arrests. This investigation, tied to post-election unrest and Bolsonaro's claims of election fraud, is set to conclude soon, with findings forwarded to federal prosecutors for potential charges.
I mean, that's some of the news coming out of Brazil yesterday. We also had the G20 leaders meeting in Brazil yesterday. And we had Lula's wife telling Elon Musk to go fuck himself, which was a particularly nice moment, and had to be a source of great pride for the people of Brazil. Minna, what's the last story from the banana department of bananas?
After Delaware elected Sarah McBride as the first openly transgender member of Congress, Republican Representative Nancy Mace introduced a bill to ban her from using the bathroom that aligns with her gender identity. Mace argued that McBride, calling her a, quote, biological man, should not be allowed in women's spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms. McBride dismissed the bill as a distraction from real issues facing Americans, emphasizing her focus on affordable housing, healthcare, and childcare.
Mace, as a biological idiot, should be kept out of jobs of responsibility. But she is a showboat, and she is just jumping on this issue because the Republicans really think they won big on the trans issue. And I have to say, if I were in that community, knew somebody in that community, or just simply because I care about that community, I think there's going to be rough sledding ahead for the next 4 years for sure. And I think the Republicans will use it as a basis for other kinds of acts, sort of limiting the behaviors of people into the categories and types of behavior that they like. Well, as you can hear there in the background, my dog has decided this is the time to end this podcast. So we'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you, Riley. Thank you, Minna. And I wonder what's happening here. I think perhaps home invasion. I don't know what's going on. I'll go see if I'm still around tomorrow. I'll be with you. Until then, bye-bye.